This is your daily dose of all things royal. All right, real quick video. Let's talk about this absolute joke of a court filing that just dropped today with an update on those Department of State files that should have started to roll out. Remember, they were promising to roll out the first batch by the end of July? For those that need a refresher, the Heritage Foundation and Mike Howell have been fighting for years to get the U.S. government to hand over records on Prince Harry, specifically what the State Department has on him since 2020. And today, they dropped the latest status report in this case. It's another kick in the face to Americans. The State Department finally did make its first production on July 30th. They identified 18 responsive records and then withheld every single one of them in full. Completely blacked out, nothing released, not even a redacted page to the Heritage Foundation. They write, the State Department made its first interim production in this case on July 30th, 2026, in which it identified 18 responsive records, all withheld in their entirety pursuant to the Immigration and Nationality Act 8 U.S.C. 1202F and FOIA exemptions B5, B6, B7, C, and B7E. The department will make best efforts to issue further productions every 8 weeks from the date of its first interim production going forward. Pursuant to the court's March 31st, 2025 minute order, the parties will file their next joint status report on October 13th, 2026. I love how they casually say they'll make best efforts to produce more every 8 weeks. 8 weeks! Let me go ahead and put this into perspective. Earlier this year, the government itself said it had identified 307 documents totaling nearly 2,500 pages that were potentially responsive. They just processed the first 18 and locked every one of them. That leaves roughly 290 documents still sitting there. If they keep going at this kind of pace, small batches every 2 months, we're looking at years of this nonsense before the full pile is even addressed. Never mind actually released. This is such bullshit. I think everybody sees that they're slow walking this on purpose. You don't need a law degree to see what's happening here. But the question is, why? Why are they slow walking it? Now, before we jump the gun and say that the administration is protecting this fool because Trump's relationship with the king and blah, 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 it's important to understand the FOIA exemptions that they've listed here, because that in itself gives us a clue as to what's really going on and why the first batch of 18 files have been withheld. So allow me to now go ahead and break down exactly what each of these exemptions mean and why they're being used in this context. Let's go ahead and start with a specific statutory provision, which is the Immigration and Nationality Act, specifically Section 1202F. In the context of these 18 records, it means that any U.S. Department of State documents relating to the issuance or the refusal of visas and entry permits are strictly confidential. The government here leverages this statute under FOIA exemption number 3, which allows them to withhold information when another federal law explicitly requires it. Ultimately, this ensures that visa application files and related immigration documents stay out of the public eye. So we're literally back to square one on anything pertaining to this immigration application that Harry filled out. Whether or not he lied on it about his drug use remains still protected and confidential. Now, something to keep your eyes open for when the media finally does get wind of this breaking news that I'm bringing to you here right now, they're going to take the same narrative of this being about Harry's drug use and whether or not he lied on his application and make it about that. But it actually isn't about that. And that's what I want everybody to understand here, because it's telling in the exemptions that they're giving us. Now, even though this inquiry originally started out with wondering whether or not Harry lied on his application about his drug use, this is morphing into something else that I don't see the media picking up on or talking about. Just keep that in mind as I go through the rest of these exemptions. Next, we have FOIA exemption B5, which covers interagency or intra-agency memoranda. This exemption is designed to protect internal government communications that would normally be shielded from civil litigation. So, what does that mean for our specific 18 records? Well, it covers the behind the scenes work like internal drafts, legal advice, pre decisional deliberations, and attorney work products. So, by withholding these particular documents, whatever is in these 18, government staff and agencies are able to deliberate candidly, share ideas, and hash out policies without the fear of immediate public exposure. Now, there may be a change. They may be released later on, but right now they're being withheld. Now, moving on to privacy, we have FOIA Exemption B6, and the core purpose of this exemption is to protect personal information like medical. It's applied whenever releasing information would result in a clearly unwarranted invasion of personal privacy. In this case, the government is using it to shield the personal details of Harry in these files. This includes sensitive information like dates of birth, home addresses, contact details, medical files, and also it could involve his drug history. It also likely has information on the royal family, like his father. Similar to that is the next one, which is FOIA Exemption B7C. Now, while this also deals with privacy, it applies specifically to records compiled for law enforcement purposes. It kicks in if releasing the records could reasonably be expected to cause an unwarranted invasion of privacy. So how does this differ from the previous exemption? Well, it's much broader. It protects privacy interests specifically within investigative records. This means withholding the names, identifiers, and personal details not just of the subjects involved, but also third parties and the investigators themselves who take part in background checks, security screenings, or immigration vetting. And finally, we have FOIA Exemption B7E, which focuses on law enforcement techniques and procedures. This exemption protects records that would accidentally reveal the so-called secrets to how we do investigations, the techniques, the procedures, or guidelines used for investigations and prosecutions. In this context, it is used to withhold the specifics of investigative methods, internal screening criteria, risk assessment formulas, and vetting systems. The logic here, though, is that if these details were released, then bad actors could use them to circumvent the law or compromise border and immigration security procedures. Now, I want you to understand that these FOIA exemptions were specifically chosen out of a full list of exemptions that they could have used, but these are very specific. Now, when we look at the 9 FOIA exemptions here, specifically number 7 with all of those subsets, they're telling us within the batch of those 18 documents that law enforcement is involved here, whether it be past or currently present. Now, when we say law enforcement here for the State Department and the documents that they would have, that would typically mean the feds or FBI. Now, for those who have been following this channel for a while, know that this channel is specifically being watched, not only by the bad actors that are tied to Harry and Meghan, but also by people outside of this royal bubble down in DC. There shouldn't be any kind of surprise. You all know this, since there are people who maliciously want to harm myself as well as others, like the Duchess of Narcissus. So you don't think that over the years there wasn't action taken? This is why I continue to keep talking about what they had done over the last 6 years. I don't give a shit about the drama that we're seeing fabricated, because this is the important stuff that needs to come out. And while we may be slow walking all of these files for the next couple of years, understand that there's a reason behind it. And I'm not going to rule out that justice is not going to be served yet. I'm still going to hold on to the fact that there will be something done about these two for what they have done. And I'll just leave it at that. Like I said, there's a reason why they are hustling to carve this path for Harry to get back home and pretend as if nothing happened. If you listen to the video that I did before this one, literally earlier today I posted it, you can see that it's obvious that they don't want to talk about any of the political activism or the deliberate attempt to subvert the United States of America for a reason. At this moment, It really does rest on what Trump is going to do, because this is a diplomatic crisis in the making. This is why Niall Gardner from the Heritage Foundation won't touch it. This is why the royal reporters won't touch it. This is a nightmare for the royal family. And this is why I continue to keep talking about the things that these royal reporters are deliberately omitting. Like I said earlier today, I am not going to let this go. What these two did to innocent people, especially Americans like myself and Duchess of Narcissus and Sue Smith and Daily Empress and Sue Me and Ashley from Danger Zone, as well as many others internationally. Like, we can't forget Yankee Wally, we can't forget Murky Meg, according to Taz, and so many others that they targeted between 2021 and 2022 was wrong, and they need to be held accountable. Harry was a guest in our country, and he took advantage of our kindness and our generosity. But now that needs to stop. He needs to get the F out of here. Anyway, that's all I have for you today, but if you didn't get a chance to see today's earlier video, please go ahead and check it out. It is eye-opening because there is a deliberate campaign going on to reframe the narrative on these two, and hopefully this information now helps fill in more gaps so you can understand how everything is so predictable now. Those are just my thoughts, but what do you guys think? Definitely let me know your thoughts below. As always, I will be back with more content, but until then, please be safe, and I will talk to you soon. Bye!
It was such a fraud.